Hi, so this is the summary of the conference I made in the summer camp, last Zen summer camp in Europe, in France, at the temple, Yujo Nyusanji. Basically, I made this for my friends in Amsterdam on dojo that probably understood maybe half what I said. I don't know exactly. So, facts, basic facts. First, big paper I kept from this conference. Of course, my ideas are less fresh than then. I was very, all the ideas were very well integrated when I made this. Now it's a bit less performing. Anyway, we have fuel for maybe 75 years, coal for 200 to 500 years. We have now a population of 7 billion. That will rise up to 10 billion in 2050 and go back to 7 billion, sorry, in 2070. That's all because of the China population that will change because of the politics of the one-child politic in the 1950s. Right now we have the phreatic cap under the land that are probably at 60% of the phreatic level of the Earth origin level, and they cannot. They have a very hard time to rise back from that. We had extinction before 400,000 years ago, 23,000 years ago, and 13,000 years ago. But the change in temperature we have now is much more sudden than no common measure with these old geological events. We have a cycle from the sun, and they call Milankovitch cycle, and they are 100,000 years, 41,000 years, and 21,000 years, and they still continue. But right now we should be in a cooling era, not a rising temperature era. We receive about between 6 and 200 watts per square meter on the Earth from the sun as heat. Part of the because of the job of the greenhouse effect is to bounce back a part of what comes from the sun. And if we lack greenhouse gas, or if we have too much greenhouse gas, it can be lots of problems. Now, facts. The pH of the ocean have lowered by 0.1%, which affect the plankton, which affect carbon fixing, because 50% of the carbon fixing on the planet come from the ocean. And ocean are very important for us. Mainly the Earth is not Earth, it's sea. Already the Arctic ice shelf have melted 40%, and the South Pole is different, and Greenland is different, because the water that melt on Greenland rests on ground, so when it drips, it really makes a sea level change. The Arctic ice and part of the South Pole ice is floating ice. It's like with your glass. If you have a glass with ice, it won't change the level if the ice melts. But on Greenland, the ice is on ground, so when it melts, the level change of the sea. So the sea already rise up between 20 centimeter and 40 centimeter in the last 100 years. The stock of the fish stock of the big fish of the ocean is around 20% of the level it was 150 years ago. As a greenhouse gas, we have CO2, carbon dioxide, and we have methane which is CH4, and it's also a greenhouse gas. Methane is in the ground of the tundra and in the pergélisol. It's called, I don't know if it's in English, pergélisol, in Russia and Canada, there's lots of that. And already temperature are rising by 8 to 10 degrees in north of Quebec. And the pergel is melting enough that it bubbles up and some houses go twisted in the north. Also, the season here, the end of the winter and the beginning of winter was pushed aside probably right now by 3 weeks. So the data we have to study this, the climate, come from sea notes from the fisher people and oceanograph since probably 600 years ago. Middle-aged notes from in the cities about the temperatures we have also. Otherwise, we have ice carrots, if you want. I don't know if you do right in English. Ice carrots and sediment of rods that are taken in the bottom of the ocean to know what happened with the planet. And sometimes the rise of carbon in the atmosphere in the late extinction was around 500 to 750 part per million. And there was a change of climate between 5 and 7 degrees that led to massive extinction of close to 90% of all the species on the planet. Right now, what influences also the weather is the height of clouds, different types of clouds. The lower clouds and the smog also make the temperature lower, which trick the science about the effect of civilization. The cumulus clouds, which are lower, anyway, one is raising the temperature, the other one is lowering temperature, but the highest clouds are lowering the temperature. I don't know, I don't remember anyway. Figured out. So IPCC, climate change, International Panel of Climate Change, expect a rise of temperature between 2 and 3 degrees Celsius, which would come in around 2050. And we have right now close to 400 parts per million carbon dioxide. According to James Hansen, which is a scientific of NASA before, we have to bring it down to 350 parts per million if we want to avoid a climate runaway, which would lead us to a temperature rise of around 5-7 degrees and very large sea level rise. If all the poles melts, which would happen probably happen if you go around 8 Celsius rise, surely 10, you sea level rise by 70 meters. That's a lot. The rise now for the last 100 years was 40 centimeters. But 1/3 of the population of the planet live in places that will be affected by only a rise of 1 or 2 meters. So, okay. So, those are the facts. Another thing is that if temperature rise on the planet doesn't rise equally everywhere, and so you have a movement of the air. The Earth is quite big. The layer where we live is very thin, and the layer of atmosphere, which gives us oxygen to breathe, is relatively small. So the air spinning with the clouds also. Humidity affect also temperature. It's like if you enter a greenhouse. But one main effect that will have the peak oil and rise in the CO2 part per million level is affecting El Nino, and Niña, which are mainly at the equator level, and a rise of temperature there makes a kind of loops that loops up to the fertile regions of the planet, which are between 25 and 35 latitude. And raising temperature there will make season harvesting much less good. Probably some rise in food prices with the raising price of oil and lowering of crop harvesting, raise probably up to 40% of the price of the food. So you get very strange situation, let's say. Other things that make the temperature lower or rise many lower are volcanoes. Big volcanoes can lower the temperature, overall planet temperature of -1 degree Celsius. So it means that if you have sulfur in the atmosphere, if you had more, you can lower the temperature of the planet. Okay. Right now, average television consumption in North America and Europe also is 26 hours per week. So, and average people which went to university just read 1 book a year. At the best, it's just probably 10% of the population that read more than 3, 4, 5 books a year. It's very little to understand things complicated like climate change. So, some information about basic social numbers, which will be affect more a lot of what will happen because there's no separation between environment and people and business. So, let's say if you have more inequalities, you have more violence, and you may have more problem in the society. So inequalities. In medieval time, there was a difference of 8. The richest were 8 or 10 times more rich than the poor. In 1920s, it was 30 to 1. In 1970, it was 200 to 1. And right now, it's between 5,000 and 10,000 to 1. If you compare the guy who cleaned the place and the guy who owns the place. Every year in the world, there's $1.3 trillion. It's $1,300 billion that is spent for armament, new armament. Half of this budget, half of this spending is spent by Americans and was spent for the last 20 years in buying army stuff. So a lot. Mainly it's ocean control by ships. And my theory is that it's impossible to make something ecological and for the climate change if you don't act on military stuff. Because to build all this equipment, you need the best material, you suck the best material everywhere. And you have to transform it and use it. And you don't have unleaded tanks, and you don't have right now. They start trying to use crop fuel for flying planes, but it's quite far from getting it. And anyway, it's hard to find numbers to prove that. But the biggest consumer of fuel in the world, single consumer of fuel in the world, is the Army of the United States. If you consider the inside country consumption and outside country consumption, which is not counted usually as American because it doesn't enter the country and go out the country, but it goes from out to in the field. So right now there is 80 million barrels of oil consumed in the world, 83,000 billion barrels of oil in the world consumed per day. 20 million of that are consumed every day by America. Okay, facts. We have strange money. The trade market is 20 times bigger than the real market, and it's money, very abstract money. It's value. It's not, you cannot have money for that. And and it's very fast, and you're creating instabilities and make profit above people everywhere. So it's a bit dangerous, because when you're far, you don't feel. That's it. Other thing is strange about money is that 30% of all the money in the planet is mafia money, underground money, black market for arms and drugs. And if you don't control 30% of your budget, you're a bit screwed, I think. And now most of the trade in the world, 90% of the trade in the world is trade on not on goods, but on the financial values. So that's strange also. We have also a militarization of the police force in all the countries. Mainly United States start using in some Philadelphia manifestation sound cannon. And they already use for a long time, many years now, the electric shock belts for people that are on court, that are judged. And they're building a microwave cannon now that could fry you from a distance of a couple blocks. Supposedly it's not dangerous if your eyes don't look at it, but I will not try. As all people know, lots of people, very few people own lots of things. And there should be more equality in people, but it's over obvious. So I'm at the solution for the things. Solutions. First, you have to have energy to implement them. Basically, most people don't really like politics, and but there's large-scale politics, micro-politics, and there's creative politics solutions. Mainly, politics right now started IPCC, and IPCC is already 6-7 years old, because before the time you have the search and the writing and the approval of all the people, time goes. But every new IPCC report are much worse. And there's lots of talk, but not much action in the end. Basically, the countries are controlled by banks and by militaries. The democracy and the politicians should be we should vote for a budget. Our politicians spend the money, our money. They should be imputable. I mean, they have to be sued in court if they malmanage the money. Otherwise, they can do what they want. Presentation of numbers, statistics number from countries should be readable and with pies and chart and all that, but just not throw numbers on flat pages. And because the people on the politics don't agree, and there's no real democratic institution effective, which have real power, they don't exist in the world now. So because people don't agree and they won't take leave the game of who will be the one who will consume the last, the first, they will prioritize the use of geoengineering for the climate change, because they will not have choice. In geoengineering, you can have the use of geothermal energy, like many thousand feet under the ground. There's lots of energy, like it's 200, 300 degrees Celsius. You can make energy for that. You have wind power. That is right now 0.02% of the world energy production. Because they also try to think a way to make a geocastration of carbon monoxide, put back that on the ground. But it doesn't work. Easy stuff is to dope clouds with sulfur, like if you'd be a volcano. But if it happens that you do that too much and you have a volcano at the same time, you can end up lowering the temperature by too many degrees, and it makes storms. And lots of things different. I don't know exactly what it means. I don't know. You can also dope the ocean with steel oxide because to make the photosynthesis with the plankton, you need steel in the composition of photosynthesis, and this rise the production of plankton, which was rise the level of bioplankton, which increase the production of fish, which has already been tested on 12 different places in the world, and it's very simple. You just take a boat and throw steel oxide steel. Clean coal. Now most of the electric energy of the China is based on coal, and it's not clean. It might be cleaner, but supposedly technology doesn't. The world go beyond the technology in this. And still, I think 40% of all the energy in the United States is made by coal, and probably 20% by nuclear energy. Canada don't have really nuclear energy. And in Europe, it's mostly nuclear. In the new tech stuff for nuclear that Bill Gates supplied money for, they try to build new plants that would use the waste product of normal nuclear plants to produce energy. And those kind of plants are much more smaller, and they are kind of discardable. When they're over, they just rip it hurt inside and leave it like that, which is a bit crazy. But yeah. Some people look at it, work a lot, and get money for it. So, nuclear. Nuclear doesn't kill that much for now, compared to coal, if you want. It seems coal seems more inoffensive, but it kills 20 times more in the work of the thing. Micropolitics solution is to organize yourself and share more, or try to find a way to share, like couch surfing, like association, like finding ways to make city urban culture and or permaculture in the outside to be sufficient in food, basically, or share bikes, or share cars, or of course making much better use of the car and use of the tool also. We can organize sharing tools and stop listening to TV. For creative solutions, of course, there was the bicycle is very efficient as a ecological solution for that, the climate change problem. You have to argue some kind anyway, in any way possible. Sharing out to be organized from the ground up, and it's interesting how it's developing. Creative solution, like anything you do that make yourself a strange person, helps the situation, because people are used to doing things always the same. So if they encounter something different, their brains switch to a different mode that make new neuronal connection possible. So it's a creative solution are very it's a symbolic power, but it's real power as well. So, I don't know, any idea is good. You know. So, the credits for what I say come from mainly you go see tvo.org section called Big Ideas, conference by James Anson, which is very, very efficient. You can also listen to podcasts at iTunes University, iTunes U, at ANU University in Australia, a guy named Andrew Wilkinson, which is a geological historian. On the more rightish side of the business, you can hear militaries speaking of going greens on the climateone.org site, and they have lots of podcasts, and it's very very candid way of presenting GM and all that. But they work hard to figure it out because they know it's going to happen already. The United States military has planned that 53% of all its small car, which is a fleet, would be turning to a green energy in 2020, and it's lots of power there. So that's it. Of course, if you don't buy anything, you cannot make more pollution. So hope to talk about this again. Probably there's mistakes in numbers, but not from far. I check it back after the conference, and it was quite consistent. It's okay. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye.